Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. Against the backdrop of the US's continued restrictions on AI chip giants including AMD and Nvidia, the US government suddenly relaxed its export restrictions on Intel, and even approved Intel to ship hundreds of millions of dollars worth of chips to Huawei this year. This policy is not limited to Intel. Qualcomm has also obtained similar licenses. This policy change has made other US chip giants quite dissatisfied, especially Nvidia. The export restrictions faced by Nvidia are particularly severe. The restrictions on high-end chips in the early stage were already troubling, and then even the special edition chips were restricted. These restrictions have led to a backlog of Nvidia's inventory, and the US government does not bear any responsibility for this. During this period, Nvidia's newly launched chips were coldly received in the Chinese market, forcing Nvidia to make several overtures to the Chinese market and emphasize the importance of the Chinese market to them. Despite this, which Chinese company dares to use chips that are not superior in performance and may be sanctioned at any time? This situation puts Nvidia in a difficult position, while other US companies that can ship can keep the market operating. Therefore, when Nvidia faced strict restrictions, Qualcomm and Intel were silent on these bans. However, what they did not expect was that the US government suddenly changed its position and revoked the previous shipping license. This not only makes American companies dissatisfied, but also domestic companies feel pressure. Indeed, although domestic chips are accelerating, it is indeed a challenge to cope with such a large-scale supply chain disruption in the short term. As Intel said, the US chip ban has touched the bottom line of the Chinese market. If the United States continues to expand restrictions, the final result will be that China accelerates the research and development of independent chips, which will not only hurt US chip exports, but may also have an impact on the global chip industry chain. In fact, Intel's point of view is not unreasonable. With the United States constantly strengthening restrictions in recent years, China's breakthroughs in chip technology have been very obvious. For example, Huawei's Kirin chip still launched 7nm advanced chips despite the restrictions on EUV lithography machines and TSMC's inability to freely manufacture, causing US testing agencies to rush to disassemble Huawei phones to find out whether American technology is used in them. But they found that these chips did not use technology from the United States, South Korea, or Japan. The United States can only restrict DUV lithography machines more severely and prevent ASML from providing after-sales services and parts. In addition, there are voices saying that if the situation at TSMC becomes complicated, ASML may remotely lock TSMC's lithography equipment. Although this is a warning to TSMC, it is actually a hidden threat to domestic companies. Despite this, Chinese companies have not backed down. They not only compete with American companies in the AI chip market, but also clearly point out that Chinese companies have become their competitors. Perhaps it is precisely because they see the possibility of American companies losing their market monopoly that they have come out to oppose it. Today, even Intel, a company that has always been valued by the United States, has publicly stated that as a global company, it has the responsibility to ensure the stability of the global chip ecosystem. Therefore, Intel decided to continue exporting its chip products with 2nm and below technology to the Chinese market. Intel's CEO believes that their 2nm technology products have a high appeal in the Chinese market under various restrictions on Chinese semiconductor technology. Indeed, Intel's attitude this time seems unusually firm. Against the backdrop of strict restrictions on cutting-edge technology chips in the United States, even Nvidia's A800 series chips are restricted, which shows their intolerance of cutting-edge technology in the Chinese market. However, Intel not only has to continue shipping, but even has to use restricted cutting-edge technology to occupy a share in the Chinese market. This shows that Intel is very worried that its share accumulated over the years in the Chinese market may disappear. Therefore, in the face of the intensive restrictions imposed by the United States, they still claim to ship 2 nanometers technology. This also reflects from the side that the US chip ban has aroused strong dissatisfaction among American companies. If it continues, it will bring an unresolved situation to the Biden team. Many people may think that Intel's words are just angry words. Under the background of US technology restrictions, even if they want to ship, they must face the possibility of being banned from shipping and facing high fines for illegal shipments. If it were before, these restrictions had not really touched Intel's market interests, and they might just be talking. You can review the situation in which Intel was refused to expand production in China under the US chip subsidy policy. At that time, it was the US senior officials who warned Intel that if they expanded production despite the ban, they would not be able to obtain chip subsidies. After that, Intel abandoned the plan to build a factory and announced that they were welcome to expand production in other parts of the world. But the situation has changed. Even if Intel has received chip subsidies and established multiple production lines, what is the point of these production lines if the chips they manufacture cannot be sold to Chinese customers? In order to prevent its own chips from rotting in its hands, Intel can only choose to ship. In addition, the current dissatisfaction of American companies has accumulated to a critical point, and the public chip subsidy policies of various countries have been put on the table. Why should they stay in the United States to set up factories for the chip subsidies of the United States? Don't forget that Intel has publicly stated that if the chips cannot be sold, there is no need to build a chip factory in the United States. This means that the chip supply chain, currently strongly supported by the United States, is nothing more than empty talk. In the end, it will be a real joke if the money is spent, but no useful production line is established. If American companies are still attracted to build factories in other countries, it will be an unimaginable situation. Therefore, whether it is to continue to maintain its dominant position in the Chinese market, or to prevent Chinese chips from completely rising and becoming a strong competitor in the global market, Intel will also put pressure on many parties to urge the United States to allow them to ship 2 nanometers chips. Once Intel obtains a shipment license, how can Nvidia and AMD sit idly by? In short, Intel is very determined to ship, and we continue to follow the principles of market fairness and justice. As long as they operate in compliance with regulations in the Chinese market, it is not impossible to leave them a certain market share. What do you think about this? Welcome to leave a message, like and share in the comment area.